Hello. Today we're going to go through some examples of leveraging managed snapshots with vSphere virtual volumes. Right here I have a VM that is running Microsoft SQL Server, and this VM was configured and set up and additionally has some databases and some tables that were deployed, just showing the state of a VM that already has some stuff that's going on with it and has some data that's been written to it. And with this VM, since we have it already configured and set up, prior to getting those things set up and configured, we went ahead and took a managed snapshot of this VM when it was powered off before those additional tables and additional database was created. What I want to go ahead and do now is use that snapshot to create a link clone. In the vVols world, it's actually called a fast clone of the virtual volume. What we'll do is go ahead and set the reference snapshot, and then we'll go ahead and create a new VM. And we won't want to power it on. We're just going to go ahead and deploy it so that we have it. Because now that we have it deployed, we'll be able to do some other things with it, such as cloning it to a template or cloning it to a new VM, or possibly replicating it to another array and recovering that with the test failover. So first, let's go ahead and clone it to a template. And so we're going to clone this to a template. So now that when I decide to, or if I decide to go ahead and deploy another MS SQL instance, and I have some configuration steps and to go ahead and give it a new IP, new name, whatever, I can be done. So whenever a new, application is needed, it can be deployed from that template. One other thing I want to go ahead and do is apply a storage policy to this VM now. In this storage policy, I'll be able to go ahead and select something for replication. And already having the consistency group on our array set up and configured, I go ahead and select that, knowing that this is the one I want to go ahead and have it into. Since I know what the specific target array for that consistency group is and everything. So now that that policy is applied, I'll actually go ahead and go show what this looks like on our array. So on the flash array, you'll see that a protection group, that was the replication group that I selected, and those volumes are actually placed in there. So we have the config and the data volumes for that specific VM. Now what I want to go ahead and do is replicate it over to another array and then issue a sync replication group to it. So first we want to go ahead and find out what replication group is associated to the VM, and then find out what the source replication group is, and then the target replication group is from there. So here we know the source replication group is, and this is the one that I applied to the VM, so it looks correct. And then also from that one, we can see what the target group is. And so now that we have the target replication group, we can go ahead and issue what's called a sync replication group. So what this does is it issues a request to the target VOSA provider to have the source array replicate over that snapshot at that point in time. So now we have an on-demand point in time that was issued. So that error is expected within PowerShell since they don't know how to handle a sync ongoing error. But what you can check for is to see if the ongoing task ID has changed, and then I know that that first one is completed. And so now I can actually go ahead and select that specific point in time that I took, and I can go ahead and set that as a variable, and then when issuing a test failover, we can go ahead and reference that specific point in time snapshot. So I'm going to go ahead and do that right now, and specifically look for this point in time that was created. And then what we'll do is we'll set a variable for VM path, since that is what the result from the test failover will come back to is the path. But along with specifying the target replication group, we're going to go ahead and also reference that point in time replica. And here it goes ahead and on the target array, the VOSA provider is going to go ahead and recover the volumes in that replication group and then make sure they're presented back to vSphere. And here it gives us the file path to the VMX file. And so that now we can go ahead and create a new VM. And this is a VM that is in a test state with that replication group. Sure enough, here it is. It's the test one. Now from here, I couldn't just create a link clone or a fast clone from this VM, since those fast clones would still be associated with the in-test VM. So when a test is stopped, then it would be done. So what I want to go ahead and do is actually clone it from this specific point in time. And so now with cloning it, I can go ahead and specify any of the options that I want to. In this case, I want to actually make sure that it's going to the right storage. So it's a quick operation from vVols data store to vVols data store. But I also want to update the networking on here. And I want to make sure that it's being brought up in a test network. If I wanted to have a custom optimization script that goes through there, I could. So if I needed to re-IP it or whatever, but here I just want to go ahead and bring this up in a test network. And once that's done, I can go ahead and power it on. And then once powered on, I can go ahead and access the VM and double check to make sure that everything's there. Now that we're done with the test VM, can go ahead and delete that so that we can also issue a stop test failover after that. But first, let's go ahead and check the VM state to make sure everything is good in there. So we'll just go ahead and open up the remote console, well, technically web console. And once that pulls up, we'll be able to go ahead and see what's in there. I think here I'm just checking to make sure that the delete virtual machine operation is in progress. And sure enough, it is, so we're good. All right, back over to our dev VM, and we'll go ahead and open up the SQL Management Studio so that we can go ahead and confirm that the state of the VM is actually the state that I want it to be in. I recall that we went ahead and used the managed snapshot that was taken when the VM was powered off before those additional databases were deployed. So it's in this fresh state. And connecting to the database, we can go ahead and see that sure enough, that additional database and those tables no longer exist here. It's just the standard system databases. So conversely, I could have taken a snapshot after those databases had been done, and I could have replicated and used it with that state. So depending on where the state of the application was or where it could have been a more recent one, or it could have been one that was taken a while ago. Whatever state or point in time is just relevant to what your goal is for moving it over. And so we want to do the stop test replication failover because these replication groups are in test. And so on the array, we can go ahead and see that sure enough, the volumes are destroyed and pending eradication. And that is part of the test failover cleanup. It makes sure that everything is getting cleaned up. And now that I'm done with everything from this original one, we can go ahead and clean this one up too and get the array back to a good state where it is good to move forward. All right, and that was just a couple of quick demos with using managed snapshots and vSphere virtual volumes. Thank you for watching.